Hello, everyone. So happy to see you guys here. And today we were talking about the Bitcoin application and also the ecosystem. So maybe let's start from the self-introduction and also about your company. Maybe we start from Jason. Yeah.
Thank you, Emma. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Jason from Internet Computer Protocol, or ICP. So we're a layer 1 blockchain, $5 billion market cap, and we feature with several unique technologies, and one of them is what we call it chain fusion, which allows ICP to become like an infrastructure tech layer to enable Bitcoin DeFi in one of the most trust minimized way, which we can talk about in a little bit. I'm very happy to join this panel with everyone to talk about the Bitcoin DeFi topic. Thank you.
Thank you. Rena?
Hi, everyone. My name is Rena. I am with Stacks. We are the leading Bitcoin L2 and one of the oldest Bitcoin L2s. We've been around since 2017, and our mission has always been simple. Bitcoin always needed to scale, and you can't do everything on the L1, and so our L2 facilitates transactions for DeFi and NFTs and such, and we're really focused on the SBDC asset. It is a non-custodial wrapper asset for Bitcoin that can be used in DeFi and such.
Team.
Hello, everyone. Good to be in Hong Kong, first time. Thanks for having me. Also to the organizers of this event, thanks for having us. Well, my name is Tim. I'm the Chief Product Officer at RootstockLabs. RootstockLabs is the biggest and main contributor to the Rootstock Bitcoin sidechain. We are also one of the oldest L2s. We're together in the space since 2017. We position Rootstock as the Bitcoin DeFi layer, secured by proof of work from Bitcoin. More than 80% of Bitcoin hash rate is also secure in Rootstock. We're EVM compatible, have Bitcoin as our native asset, and have one of the best Bitcoin bridges in the space. Thank you.
Jason?
Hey everyone, good afternoon. My name is Jason. I represent Citrea, and I guess Citrea is fairly newer in comparison to my panelists here. So we are looking to go mainnet in Q2. Essentially at Citrea, we are a rolled up, scaling the Bitcoin block space using zero-knowledge technology. So I would like to thank the organizers for having us here as well. Today we are one of the sponsors, and looking forward to the panel.
Thank you, everyone. So also, maybe I have a very small introduction, a quick introduction for myself. So I'm Emma Zhu, and also I'm from Sinohope Asset. This is a local regulated entity which we have uploaded our 149 license, so we can be fully invest into crypto for 100% of our assets. So today I'm very happy to discuss about the Bitcoin ecosystem. And maybe the first question I will ask is about, let me see, so are apps on Bitcoin ready for a billion users? And what do you think is the biggest bottleneck from stopping Bitcoin apps from scaling? I think this question, let's start with Jason Chen.
Oh yeah, sure. So personally, I believe that apps on Bitcoin are not particularly ready for like a billion users yet, right? But that's my opinion. And I think it's two sides of the table, right? One, you're probably focusing more on the security side of things. Maybe I can take it from the perspective of Citrea, is that traditionally probably scaling mechanisms is that you take data off-chain, or you scale it on a sidechain kind of like basis. But for us at Citrea, we are focusing on scaling everything on Bitcoin itself, using zero knowledge. So it's probably between these kind of trade-offs that you're thinking that, hey, probably this approach is going to be a little bit more expensive, a little bit harder to scale. But I don't think Bitcoin necessarily, Bitcoin apps rather, is necessarily ready yet. But we're working towards that kind of progression, right? Yeah. But we'd love to hear, thoughts and opinions from other panelists as well.
Tim, how about you think?
No, I mostly agree. From a technical perspective, I mean, 1 billion users is a lot, right? And throughput of all our ecosystems and networks is just not good enough. But if you walk around in these conferences and dive into all the telegrams and discords of the Citrea telegram, like I think there's enough mental capacity and intellect and rapid technological innovation that will solve these problems in the near future. Not too worried about that. Same goes for trust minimization, right? It's being said that the bridges between Stacks and Bitcoin, Rootstock and Bitcoin, are a major like enabler of Bitcoin DeFi and growth, but also slowing down growth because it's not fully trust minimized or trustless yet. That again, I think, is a problem that will be resolved in the very near future with BitVMX, BitVM, BitVM2, or the enablement of Opcat. I think the real challenge is finding and identifying real useful Bitcoin use cases that are not about rapid speculation, point systems, and rapid growth tactics, but about giving true value to Bitcoin. I think we're a bit thin at that side. I think we're super strong as a sector on technological innovation, but speaking with the user, understanding the user, and understanding where real value comes from, I think we have a bit of learning to do there, also speaking for ourselves.
Rena?
For me, I don't think we're quite there yet. And part of, I think, what the problem is, you need to separate the emotional ties to how you feel about Bitcoin to Bitcoin apps. When you're thinking about an asset that's worth 100K, it is hard for you to want to move from cold storage even to on-chain, and like separating and kind of easing that barrier is probably the most important thing that we can all do to just enable Bitcoin apps. Like to my friend's points here, there are a lot of apps that have utility for Bitcoin. DeFi is really kind of the strongest use case, but to think about moving one BTC on-chain and then take out a loan against it, the barriers to entry are very difficult for most people. And what we can do is try to make it streamlined and seamless, but also like maintaining that aspect of non-custodial is pretty critical because that's the entire point of Bitcoin. And I don't think we've gotten there just as an ecosystem just quite yet.
Jason?
Yeah, I think I share the opinions of the rest of the panels here. But what I want to add is that I think definitely Bitcoin DeFi ecosystem has the potential of unlock like 1 billion people. But like Rena just said, like there's a lot of OG, like ancient Bitcoin owners. They're just so used to, keeping their Bitcoin in cold wallet and making them safe. They're just not used to putting them into a finance ecosystem for a number of reasons. I think one is obviously the securities and everything, and number two is that there are very few very good product that actually solve a very big pain point. But I think there's still a pain point because what I heard from people on the market, like even in the recent month, is they're Bitcoin whales, and actually they're very reluctant to putting their Bitcoin into a, let's say, a liquidity protocol or a yield protocol. But actually some of them said, if you can offer me, or you can find a way to design a product that will give me like, let's say 7-8% APY, actually I would risk putting my Bitcoin with you after due diligence. So it's always like, a price side of things. It's like a risk-adjusted reward. So if we can create a product that actually solve a pain point, and that is secure enough, and is proven by, ideally by time, by like the number of users, the early adopters, there is possibility of onboard. And I think the potential is very big because remember, Bitcoin is the only people's crypto assets. It's different from the other cryptocurrencies. I think it's the one thing that nobody will doubt, and which is shown already by this cycle when liquidity is limited. But Bitcoin will always be leading the growth of the market cap there. So, but I think the pain point for the builders is to actually find a way to scale the network and to enable very good product to launch and deliver their value and show their value to the potential users.
So I think that everyone has some confidence about the ecosystem. And the next question will also related to this, because I know that each of you are building a very good, different way to scale Bitcoin. So what do you think the most advantage of your approach to support your Bitcoin apps for the users? Maybe we can start from Jason Gao. Yeah.
Thank you. So I think from ICP's perspective, so we're not a very new layer 1 protocol, but there is something very new that we actually just launched about a year ago, which is a technology, we name it as a chain fusion. So this technology basically enabled the ICP blockchain or the smart contract on ICP to be able to natively communicate with any other blockchains, including Bitcoin mainnet. So this is like a unique feature of ICP, and we started integrating with Bitcoin as part of the chain fusion technology adoption. And currently we have one ICP subnet actually runs a light node on Bitcoin. So the very unique threshold Schnorr signature that we have deployed allows any builders to actually deploy their smart contract on ICP. And the smart contract would have the ability to natively read and write on the blocks on Bitcoin mainnet. So this is considered one of the most trust minimized way of enabling ICP or any applications built on ICP in this way to be a transaction layer for Bitcoin native assets. So we are currently supporting BRC20 and Ruins and a number of other type of assets in this way. And we have been growing our ecosystem in the last year or so, and we currently have more than 40 projects actually building products on Bitcoin. And many of them are actually very well known, like Alden.fun, which is launched recently. So they're actually considered as the Pump.fun for Ruins or Bitcoin assets, and they achieved actually $10 million trading volume on the first day of public launch. We also have OG projects like Tap Protocol, also Omnity Network launching their DAX or other liquidity protocols with the ICP's chain fusion technology. And I really encourage you to try Odin.fun or Rich Swap by Omnity, and you can really feel, I can actually trade Bitcoin assets in lightning speed at a very, very low cost. So it gives me a Solana type of experience when I try to trade even meme coins for fun. Also, we have lending protocols like Liquidium. They actually started on Stacks and still remains as one of the number one liquidity protocols on the Stacks ecosystem. And they're also exploring how the chain fusion technology of ICP can enable them. So in addition to that, we also enable teams that want to actually build their own layer 2s on Bitcoin to use our technology but create their own layer 2 with their own governance token. But in the back end, we connect them with Bitcoin in whatever way. So this technology could even expand to other blockchains, and we also have projects that are actually exploring to build a super DEX that can connect Bitcoin mainnet as well as, let's say, Ethereum, Solana, Sui, Aptos, and Ton, all these other blockchains with this technology. So I think this is a very unique thing that we're offering as a tech stack, and we want to be like the infrastructure layer or the infrastructure service provider to a lot of builders who want to build their either their scalability layers or their applications to unlock the liquidity for Bitcoin assets.
Thank you, Jason. And how about you think, Rena?
I think Stacks has always taken a little bit of a different approach. We've always wanted to feel as close to Bitcoin, kind of any fashion of that. And what I think Stacks has done really well is actually attracting new developers. Currently, I think we're the 7th fastest growing developer ecosystem contributing to Bitcoin. And when you think about this from like a builder perspective, it's super important because there are less than 100 Bitcoin core developers, like total. But when you think about layer 2s and what Stacks is doing, we're bringing more and more developers into Bitcoin for the first time who have never actually interacted in Bitcoin. And so kind of increasing that developer adoption, increasing the amount of dApps on Bitcoin through the Stacks layer 2 is critical to bring mass adoption for liquidity to flow from BTC on the L1 into DeFi, because that is the entire point. When you have an asset like Bitcoin, you're not going to use it for low-cost payments or things like that, for buying coffee or things like that. That narrative is 10 years too old. What we're thinking about now is how can you bring real-world assets back onto Bitcoin, because at the end of the day, you want the security of Bitcoin, but you want the scalability of an L2. A 10 to 30-minute block time is not feasible for DeFi, but something like Stacks in the 15 seconds is actually right.
Thank you. And T?
Yeah, I think the question was, if I remember, how does Rootstock differentiate from the others, looking at Bitcoin-based apps? I think it's primarily three things. It's technology, ecosystem, and longevity. I'll start with the last one. As Stacks, we've been around for a long time, since 2017, 2018. 3,000 Bitcoins currently locked in the bridge, basically a 300 million bounty or hacker bonus just sitting there. It has never been hacked, has been up for 100%. Not everyone in our sector can say that. Then the first one, technology. Super strong, EVM compatible, meaning that if you build on Ethereum, you can build on Rootstock. And secondly, I already said this, we're super proud of this, secured by Bitcoin miners. So 80% of Bitcoin hash rate is being used to mine Rootstock blocks, which is truly amazing. And then one of the best bridges, Bitcoin to Rootstock bridges, in our ecosystem, soon to be even better, based on BitVMX and Union Bridge. And then the last one, but definitely not the least one, ecosystem. Because we're EVM compatible, in the past 12 months, we integrated over 170 different Ethereum protocols on Rootstock. SushiSwap is available on Rootstock, Uniswap is available on Rootstock, Gelato, Third Web, et cetera, et cetera. We're very close on, I shouldn't say that. We're working really hard to integrate Aave, the biggest lending and borrowing protocol in the world, on Rootstock, meaning that you can use your RBTCs, your Rootstock Bitcoins, instead of your WBTCs. So a more decentralized version of Bitcoin in Aave to get a yield. This is how we differentiate. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jason?
Yeah, I think I would like to place emphasis on the ecosystem part for Citrea at least, right? So at least for Citrea, because we are pre-mainnet, we're currently in our testnet, and we are looking to really incubate these projects. So like the t-shirt I'm wearing today is Citrea Origins. And there's a lot of interesting projects, I would say, because circling back, we were talking about creating more use cases for Bitcoin, right? And like with these conversations that we're having is that probably Bitcoin OGs and all that, they are more reluctant or resistant to like tapping onto new applications and ideas. And we are hoping by incubating these particular ideas that we can kind of draw them out. So at Citrea Origins, we are more than just a grant program. So if you're looking to build on Bitcoin, we are also EVM compatible, but staying true to preserving the security of Bitcoin, right? So we are scaling through Bitcoin using ZK. We're EVM compatible, looking to tap onto more of these use cases. And it's something that we do quite carefully. Managing the program, we actually curate these projects coming on board very carefully. We work with them from zero to launch as well. So these projects that are building, I would be happy to disclose them very soon, but some of these ideas, really excites me about the Bitcoin ecosystem, because personally, from my experience, I've been more from the L2 space on the Ethereum side of things, but always looking in from, from the outside in a way, like into the Bitcoin ecosystem. I am truly excited, there's so much untapped liquidity on the Bitcoin ecosystem. So one of the emphasis that we have is our ecosystem. We are staying true to the kind of like the Bitcoin identity, and we are helping projects to build on that same idea, right, ideology, and we look to launch with them during our mainnet. Yeah.
Thank you, Jason. Maybe the next question will be quite interesting. So what do you guys think should developers still learn to build with Bitcoin script? And how should team get started? So maybe we can start from Jason Chen. Wait, start here.
Yeah, maybe just a quick answer to that. I think it's always good to have that particular knowledge of it, but I think from listening with my fellow panelists here and even at Citrea, because we are EVM compatible, there's a reason why we are EVM compatible as well, is that we don't want to create extra barriers and hurdles for developers. Then again, it's always a double-edged sword, right? Being EVM compatible, projects can come in very easily, and they can also leave, your ecosystem easily. But, by that particular idea, we do want more applications to be developed first. So, yeah, use existing languages. So I would say that it's not necessarily that you have to use like really native languages, right? It's good to know about it, but there are also a lot of existing frameworks and all that will kind of really expedite your process into deploying applications ultimately. So that's what, at least at Citrea and our incubator, we want that to happen, right? We want to support more, platforms that enable developers to deploy. Yeah, simple as that.
Right. And team?
Yeah, not much to add. So for context, probably useful to learn a bit of Bitcoin script, but in practice to deploy the apps and protocols on Rootstock and probably on all the other layers, not really needed, not really highly recommended. If you know Solidity, you know how to use Hardhat or Foundry. You like tools like Third Web or Gelato or The Graph, you can build your app or port your app from Ethereum to Rootstock. It's very simple. In addition to that, we recently launched Rootstock Collective, which is a DAO for ecosystem growth. The DAO has a very interesting incentive program for developers and an interesting grants program for developers. So if there are any builders, developers out there that want to try around, fiddle around with building on Bitcoin using Solidity and Ethereum knowledge, I'm happy to talk to you after this talk and onboard you.
Thank you. Rena?
Personally, no. I don't see value in learning Bitcoin script at this point in time. Quite frankly, all of the innovations are going to occur on L2s, and each L2 adopts its own language protocol, whether it's Stacks, who has its own clarity. But realistically, you want to make it simpler for developers, and there's just not a lot of developers in Bitcoin Core, and so you need to meet users where they are. Advancements of using something more standardized like WASM or Rust would actually be ideal.
Jason?
Yeah, I think the answer is pretty clear. And if you want to build a product, you just have to choose enabling infrastructure layer, and you got a bunch of options on the stage already. So I think from ICP's perspective, and we support also a number of different languages, and there's different options. So for instance, we support Rust development. If you're Solana developers and you use Rust, then you can just use it to develop on ICP. We also have our native coding language called Motoko, which is different from Solidity, but I think it's easier for Web 2 developers to pick up. And the beauty of Motoko is actually it's one of the coding language that fits the best with AI products, because with Motoko the data actually stays with the code always. So if you need to update the code, then you don't have to update the data. In addition to that, if you really want to use Solidity, you can actually choose DFINITY, which is a EVM-compatible layer 2 for Bitcoin that are actually built with ICP's tech stack. So they actually deployed the first only EVM subnet on the ICP network. And you can just do a Solidity development and create your Bitcoin DeFi product on DFINITY layer 2 as well. So, and then your gas token will be their governance token, but then there will be a back-to-back ICP burn on the ICP blockchain network as well. So there's various options you can use with ICP as well.
Thank you. So maybe we have the final question, and I think the audience will want to know that if you have a magical wand, what do you think that's to see the Bitcoin, in the next few years? What's the development trend? Maybe we can start from Jason Gao.
So if I can just wish out of nothing, and I hope as everybody in the crypto industry or outside of crypto industry will start owning Bitcoin. Again, it's possible because it's one of the most value accruing assets within the space. Because I see only after people start owning Bitcoin, they'll start wondering, what can I do with my Bitcoin? And I know it's going to store value over the next decades. I don't want to sell it, or I don't want to, trade like a lot of it every cycle. I'm always going to hold something. So then I'm going to start thinking what I can do with that. And I think recently, just the other day, I read on Twitter that people are talking about, is there a way for me to actually collateralize my Bitcoin, borrow money, and actually invest in AI tech stock, which are like growing crazy. And nobody seems to be solving that question. So what can I do? So as you can see, once people start owning Bitcoin, and then they will start thinking what to do with that. So that's my first hope. And the second hope is that, with the maturity, or the scaling tech infrastructure technology has been maturing, over the last year or so, and I think it will be, over the next year or two, and a lot of, quality products that unlocks the DeFi liquidity for Bitcoin will come to the market, and benefiting from the infrastructure technologies that we're providing to the market. And also, I hope that the narrative which are flowing around in the crypto market all the time will finally realize there are a lot of noises on the market which are not going to survive through cycles. But the Bitcoin DeFi narrative is not a noise. It's like a real product market fit. At some point, I hope people will realize this is like a real sector where value is going to create. Pain points are going to be solved, and they're going to start really actively putting their liquidity into this segment. So I think this is my wish, and I think it's not like imagination. I think it will happen because it's very realistic, and I'm seeing that's happening over the next 12, 24, whatever month in the near future, because things are moving nonstop in our ecosystem.
And how about, do you think, Rena?
Honestly, Bitcoin should stay exactly the same. That's the beauty of Bitcoin. It was built purposely simple so that all innovation will actually be pushed to L2s. That should be kind of where all the apps and products should live. I really fundamentally believe that when you think about what should be with Bitcoin, I don't necessarily want to see meme coins on Bitcoin or things like that, because it's drawing liquidity out. What you want to see is real world assets, DeFi and such, push the L2s, drawing that liquidity and actually making Bitcoin productive and usable. And so leave Bitcoin alone, leave the base layer alone, and let it do what it's supposed to do.
Team?
Yeah, I'll be very short. RootstockLabs' mission is to make Bitcoin work for everyone. So if I would have had a magic wand, I would just skip the current phase that we're in with hype, speculation, a lot of noise, and make sure that Bitcoin fulfills the needs of people who need it the most. That billion users in Argentina, in Turkey, in Russia, in the Ukraine, and all those other countries where people really need Bitcoin. Yeah, that probably would be my magic trick.
Jason?
Yeah, I think for me, probably more of a crystal ball thing looking into it. But yeah, I would love to see more applications. And then I think circling back to some of the panelists I mentioned is that, narratives change. But yeah, I'm hoping to look at probably like a Bitcoin app season, right? Where we want more people to develop on Bitcoin. And ultimately, for innovation side, maybe from a trust minimized to a trustless vision. Yeah, and that's all I have to add.
Yeah, thank you for all the speakers today. And I think it's quite promising for the Bitcoin ecosystem. And thank you all.
Thank you.